Ah, shoot. We got that thing.
Inside. You got it inside.
No. Language. Did that opening sequence catch your attention? I just want to let you know that I'm okay. I got all my fingers still. Welcome back to the Way to Native Chronicles. I'm going to deal with a little bit of trap safety in this video, and I hope you enjoy it and get something out of it. Because when you're trapping with traps of this size, this Conibear 330, this Belial model, heavy springs, if you get your hands caught in a trap like this, it's major trouble. It's significant danger. I'm not exaggerating that. These traps close with such force they're intended to kill instantly when they close. So getting one or even worse, both hands stuck in a Conibear trap of that size is major difficulty and pain. So well, what you saw in the beginning of this video, I did make a little bit of a slip up, and thought that I'd come back to this using that as a starting point for discussion to just deal with that eventuality, because in truth a lot of trappers have got caught in Conibear traps, and if you have no idea how to get out of one, you're in major trouble. Like, that trap could be tied down somewhere too, and if both your hands are stuck, how are you going to get out of there? But as a rule, it's one hand that's stuck, so you're going to have one hand that's free, either the left or the right, to try to get yourself out of the trap. Now, I'm not going to go through everything on setting up Conibear traps, but I'd like to show you some of the basic methods of escape, because there are some, and probably, in my opinion at least, the most effective method of getting out of the trap would be to have either a rope with you, like this, or have a trap opener, like a set of tongs that's made to compress the springs. Because what you've got to do is you've got to get the springs on this trap closed up again. If you haven't handled one of these traps, I should just tell you, like, this is so much force. I'm pushing as hard as I can from the sides. It's not given at all. So there's a lot of force involved in collapsing these things. And if we're looking at that video that we were talking about, you're sitting there with your hands stuck in the trap, and now how are you going to get it out? Well, you can really push down hard and collapse that spring, but once you get it down there, the thing is, you've got to snap this little safety hook over top so that when you take your pressure off that spring, the spring will stay compressed, and then you can move over to the other side and compress that spring to get that one open. But in order for that to work, you've got to have the springs latched with the safety. So how do you do that with one hand? Well, one of the more recommended methods is to always have a piece of rope with you. And I've got this piece here that's pretty large diameter. I kind of like that. I've tested this a bit on this trap. It's a little bit hard to, because it's so thick, to get it through both eyelets on the springs, but once you get it through there, it tends to bind to itself a little better and will be less difficult to hold in position while you try to engage that safety to hold the compressed spring in place so you can move on to the next spring. We'll kind of go through this, but at one point you're going to have to hold this rope in your teeth, okay? Just so you know. So you guys with dentures, you got major problems, okay? There are other methods. You better take a set of tongs, which we'll get to later. But I'm going to take this rope, I'm going to put it around my foot. I hope you can see that in the camera. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it through here to the bottom eyelet, and I'm going to put it through the top eyelet. Okay. And that's something I could do with one hand, right? So now that I've got it through there, I'll be trying to get it through the second eyelet, which can be done. Of course, if you're in a trap situation, you're going to be in a lot of pain right now with your hand stuck in this trap. And really, it's not going to kill you right away or anything like that, so best to just be calm. Maybe even wait a little bit and let your head clear, because you've got to be thinking clearly when you're doing this. Okay, now this, maybe I want to get this safety over a little bit. Just want to put my foot right on the edge of this jaw here, and I'm going to get it and I'm going to pull that spring right up. And you can see it's a lot of force. This is where you would hold it in your teeth, that rope, and try to get that safety over. See, you gotta pull it a lot to get that safety over. Once you've done that, that is basically how you go about freeing yourself, because once you've got these springs released, you can get out. Now in that video that you saw of me, what happened was when I was rotating, I had one spring sitting in here, I had the trap all set, and then I took it apart and I somehow knocked this safety off the spring here, and that caused the springs to open up, which then closed it on my fingers. So that's sort of what happened to me there. And it hadn't moved very much because it was kind of close together like that, but still it was quite painful. But the fact that I only had one spring go off, I was actually able to wiggle my fingers out of there. So that might be another thing to consider if you're stuck in a trap. You might be able to wiggle yourself out if you get it so that only one spring on one side is doing the clamping of the jaws together. Okay, so let's move on to another alternative here. We're going to use the tongs this time. You see these tongs have a little catch on there, so when I close it, it catches, and then or to unlatch it, I just kind of spread them apart and get it past that catch. The other way might be to get those tongs. It's going to be kind of tricky doing it with one hand. In fact, this thing is latched. There we go. Get the one tong in there, and then you can push down on the ground, and you can latch up that tong that way. So one-handed operation is possible using your tongs. So that's option number 2. The third option somebody shared with me a little while ago, and it's how he got out of these traps one time. If you have an axe, he said what he did is he took his axe And it's best to have one that's got a narrow blade on it. And he had his hand stuck in there. And he got that axe in between the jaws. He took the axe and he twisted it this way to open up the jaws, to pry them open, got his hands out. So that's a third option. Well, I hope that helps somebody out someday. Try to focus on things that are useful to people, as I often say on this channel. And definitely this is a skill or some knowledge that every trapper should be familiar with. And not just familiar with, but go out and practice it as well. Actually try to use a rope and set your springs on your traps with that. Try to do it one-handed and see whether or not you have the strength to do it, right? I'd like to wrap that up here now and just make a note that on the channel here we're going to do a little more trapping stuff. So expect to see more of that in addition to hunting. Trapping is a whole another bag in addition to hunting, with a lot of knowledge required. I think maybe the next video what I'll do is I'm just going to take all the equipment out and just kind of lay it out, just to give anybody who's new to trapping or interested in getting into trapping, give them an idea of what's the kind of stuff that you'd have to get if you want to become a trapper. Well, I think that just about covers it for this video. How about if I show you just a few sequences of our last trip around? We take our grandson out with us trapping. Trapping, like hunting, is a really good way to get the next generation familiar with the outdoors and start to love the outdoors because of the things that they can learn. You can walk them around when you're trapping or hunting and show them things, and once they have a little understanding, the bush becomes more interesting because they know animals do this, they know plants do that, they know this type of track and that type of track. So I'd like to share just a few little scenes of that as we close out this video. Until next time, from the Weighted Native Chronicles, God bless.
Sick.
You can still lots, we've got lots of memory and lots of batteries.
Look at the bees. They're shocking. That's very fresh. Oh, the water's deep now.
No, it just runs over the top.
Nolan, it is deep. Oh, you're heavier now. Wait, Nolan. Wait till Leslie gets it. Oh, okay. Go.
Okay. So,
Nolan,
I'm taking this.
there's a little hole there.
It's gonna be right up here. I don't know where my baby's floating.
Hey?
Is
Yeah.
anything gonna crawl on me?
No. Yiteito. Teneda kihin kewatsu. Ikihin datsu kyotsu.